from a great, I would say, the themed session that we were discussing using the new upcoming technology to moving to a new format called as a Fireline Chat, where we have one of the most distinguished speakers we can ever get on stage together. And it's my pleasure to invite one by one each one of them. To start with, this fireside chat will be led by, anchored by Shri Ajay Chaudhary. While Mr. Ajay Chaudhary, you switch on your video, unmute your audio, and come on stage, I'll introduce you to the audience. Mr. Ajay Chaudhary, one of the 6 founding members of HCL, began an exciting journey 3 decades back with a dream of giving India its own microcomputer. The sheer clarity of vision and the hard work led to a revolution and laid the foundation for the Indian IT industry, taking India to the league of major economies of the world. HCL, India's original IT garage startup, founded in 76, today is the global enterprise, and Mr. Chaudhary has been instrumental in driving the growth of HCL. He even led the foundation of HCL's international operations, starting with Singapore in 1980s and later expanded to other South Asian markets. Mr. Chaudhary is highly decorated Indian industry icon with several honors to his credit for consistently contributing in building the brand India on the ICT world landscape and also pioneering the cause of developing Indian IT industry. In 2011, the Honorable President of India conferred Mr. Ajay Chaudhary with the prestigious Padma Bhushan, one of the highest civilian honors, in recognition of his consistent contribution in the field of IT. Gifted with sense of entrepreneurship, he currently aims to incubate entrepreneurship by aiding startups through his association with the IAN. He is also currently teaching entrepreneurship at IIT Hyderabad and has been appointed as chairman of IIT Patna by the Honorable President of India. Mr. Chaudhary today relentlessly works towards giving back to the society with his charitable trust, Swayam, committed to provide education support to deserving children who cannot afford good education, and his association with Jabalpur Solar Lighting Project. Sir, it's an honor to have you here.
Thank you.
Our next speaker here is Sri Vijay Kumar Saraswat. Dr. Saraswat, as you switch on your video, unmute your audio, I'll introduce you to the audience. Sri Vijay Kumar Saraswat, India's most gifted scientist and accomplished researcher with more than 4 decades of experience spanning over several fields and areas in both basic and applied sciences of defense research. Apart from being a scientist, he is a rare combination of innovator, technologist, and visionary. Sri Saraswat brought new dimensions to the strategic defense scenario through successful test firing of Agni 5, Shaurya, initial operation clearance for light combat aircraft Tejas, and induction of INS Arihant. Thus, today, nation can boast of reaching any shores in the world with the nuclear-capable missiles with different striking range. Under his leadership, DRDO provided the technologies developed by them for societal benefits, namely solar-powered modular green shelters, biodigesters, AHAR programs,
I think we can spend time more on some useful discussions. You can use this introduction as I think it's over, so you can proceed.
Thank you. Welcome to Dr. Saraswat. And then third one, we have Dr. Satya Gupta, who is the chairman of IESA as well as CEO of CDEA's Innovations. Before doing this, he has been part of many startups and entrepreneurs initiatives that he has taken, starting from founding the Intel microelectronics business, moving back to India, starting IESA, opening up Open Silicon, Concept to Silicon, SensiOpt, and now to CDS Innovations. Dr. Gupta, welcome.
Thank you.
With that, I will lead to Mr. Ajay Chaudhary to get started on the fireside chat.
Sure. Welcome, Dr. Saraswat, and welcome, Satya. Well, semiconductors has been in discussion stage in this country, and manufacturing of fabs has been in discussion for quite a long time. And there have been a lot of naysayers, Dr. Saraswat, and who have said, should we or should we not? So what is your view of this? You are mute, Dr. Saraswat. We can't hear you. Please unmute.
Sorry, any nation which has to make a major impression as far as electronics, and not only the old generation electronics, but the emerging electronics, if it has to make a dent, it has to have the capability in manipulating silicon and silicon-like materials, which are semiconductors. Uh, the fact that we have not been able to do it in so many years, despite being into the field for many years in different departments of government of India, is a sad story. But even today, I must say that it is not late, and India should possess the capability to have its own manufacturing facilities for different kinds of devices, not only in silicon, but other materials which are emerging today, whether it is gallium arsenide, whether it's silicon nitride, or whether it's gallium nitride. All these materials, both for the purpose of electronics and semiconductors for photovoltaic energy requirements, and even the emerging sectors like IoT and smart cities and others. So wherever you go, I think you will need them in different forms. So if we are saying that we don't need it, I think we don't have the right appreciation of the IP which is involved in today's market. And if you don't have semiconductors with you, you don't possess that kind of an IP. You remain only an assembler and a trader, which is not the right thing to do for the economy of the country. So it is important for us to have this capability.
Thank you. Satya, I think many attempts have been made in the past also to set up ATMPs, but that has also not happened. So what do you think is the reason, and what should we do about it? Are ATMPs also important?
I think ATMP is very crucial. If you look at the semiconductor manufacturing, there are two aspects. One is the wafer fab and one is the ATMP. So I think we have to basically work on both the legs, from the investment and the complexity of the operation. ATMP is simpler. So if you have to take the first baby step in this direction, I think basically ATM becomes very critical in that sense. Second thing is that the ATMP product can directly go to basically electronics manufacturers, right? Whereas the fab products has to first go to ATMP and then to the final manufacturers, right? So if you have the ATMP, the output of that can go to EMS players, basically the large number of EMS players which have come up over last 6 to 7 years, right? They can directly consume the output of the ATMP. So I think it's very crucial to building this ecosystem.
Sure, thank you. I think, Dr. Saraswat, the geopolitical situation, the way it is today, with China becoming so aggressive, I think it's quite important to look at how we should look at hardware and software. The government has taken a decision to ban a lot of software apps. But what should we do in hardware? Because the digital security is at stake.
In fact, I have often repeated that if you are going to continue to import electronics for all these strategic sectors, and I don't consider defense alone as strategic, every sector today is strategic, whether it is railways, it is health, medicine, retail, anything you take, it is strategic because it has got direct economic impact. So the maximum usage of imported electronics is taking place in all these sectors, and the basic digital platforms which are being now set up in using the telecom network and the digital devices like servers, routers, and so on, they all become vulnerable due to the import existence. So cyber security becomes a major issue. While there have been a lot of assurances given that we can do certain amount of testing and then certify and imported equipment, but I certainly have a serious doubt as far as their efficacy is concerned. So it is important for us to have design and manufacturing capability, particularly for the critical components which form the basis for storage, memories, processing, and interfaces, all of them. We need to have that capability within the country. Then only we can say that yes, we are assured of the strategic safety and security. And second thing is, there is certain level of self-reliance which is essential today. What our Honorable Prime Minister has mentioned, Atmanirbharta is not just because we want to produce everything here. It is because we saw during this pandemic that any small disruption of supply chain can cause severe havoc with the economy of the country. And sometimes it could be very, very disastrous if we don't handle and have the capability ourselves. I'll give you a simple example. When we were making the ventilators, small devices like small electromechanical valves which are needed for controlling the airflow and all that have got some sensors, have got certain solenoid systems and all that. Even some of those systems this country was not able to get, and we were importing all of them. Of course, thanks to the aggressive approach taken by some of the departments like DRDO, CSIR, and some academic institutions, that we were able to regroup our energies and produce them. But that cannot happen if the complexity of that product is so much that we don't have the wherewithal to do that in the country. So it is important for us to set up that kind of a system in the country to ensure security, safety, and self-reliance.
Yes, sir. Actually, I was reading about the gentleman who heads the intelligence committee in the US government, and he has made a statement that modern wars are fought with semiconductors.
Absolutely.
So I guess that is the reason why he's making that statement. And I think we need to be very careful that we look at this seriously. Satya, if we look at a fab, we look at ATMP, and we believe that all that is required, what is the rest of the ecosystem that would be required to make the whole thing complete?
So, if you look at the overall electronic ecosystem, there are basically two aspects of it. One is the electronics products and one is the semiconductor products. I'll not go much into electronic side of it, but for the semiconductor ecosystem, there are three key pillars of it, and the timeline for three will be different. One is basically your R&D, which helps you in developing the processes, materials, and so on and so forth for the long term. This is a long horizon, 10 to 15 years. Second, your fab products basically drive the engine of any semiconductor economy, like companies like Qualcomm, Broadcom. They are the one who is doing the products and filling up the fab. So that is basically your short-term horizon, where basically you can see the results from 3 to 5 years. And third is basically your manufacturing, which is logic fab, memory fab, as Dr. Saraswat said, specialty fab like GaN, silicon carbide, all of those things, right? That forms the basically third pillar, which is the medium range, where we will start seeing the results from 5 to 10 years time frame, right? So short term, fabless, mid term, basically fab and ATMP, and long term R&D. And we have been advocating basically we should create a comprehensive strategy across these three, and similarly 3 areas in the electronic side. And our basically thought process in that we should allocate $30 billion over next 15 years, so that basically we can have a long-term sustainable plan similar to ISRO, similar to DRDO. We have to bring this sector to basically that level of importance and that level of autonomy under the government, and create a long-term plan with $30 billion investment, where 70% goes into manufacturing, 20% goes into products like fabless electronics products, and 10% goes into R&D. And for R&D, I think basically there is an excellent model in front of us. A independent R&D institute like IMEC has basically proven to be very successful, where they are able to develop the world-leading basically technology. I think that is a model which basically we can emulate for India with our own innovation in the model. But we need to work on all the 3 legs, like R&D, products, and the manufacturing, to make this thing basically complete and have a long-term plan, right? Basically, having a 5-year plan does not work in this case, because if you look at the fabs like Tower or SMIC, it took them basically 10 to 12 years to become basically cash flow positive. till that it was getting invested. So we have to take that long-term view at least for 15 years to basically make this sector a key strategic asset for the country, which is very much needed. Looking at America's foundry bill, I think it's very evident that self-reliance in this area is of utmost importance for any country, not just India. It is important for every other country. And we cannot wait any longer. We need to act now.
So, Dr. Saraswat, the challenge is going to be how do we get people to come and invest here when there is so much capacity for semiconductors all over the world? So, I guess we'll have to think of a model that will work.
We have debated this issue. It's like a catch-22 situation.
Yeah.
We are in a conundrum in which we manufacture a lot of electronics in our country, both commercial and strategic. But our level of assembly, our manufacturing is related to only assembly and maybe putting it into some software and then selling it in the market, whether it is digital devices like laptops and computers and on, or even cell phones for that matter, which are the large quantity we produce today, where the value addition in the country is not exceeding more than 20%. So that is the kind of thing we are having. So when you have a situation like this, that you don't feel the need for importing the components, importing the various devices, and then using them as per your designs. Designs are not ours at any point in time, except for a few areas where we do some designs which are again specific to the strategic sectors like DRDO, space, or atomic energy. They make embedded systems, they make their own devices. I mean, they use external components. So unless we start first translating ourselves into designing some of the products using even the imported components, that is where ATMPs come in a big way. That and electronic system manufacturing, ESDMs come in a big way. That at least the designs which we are doing for the domestic market, at least, because our domestic market is also significant. If I had to give in today's situation every child a laptop for having online education, imagine what is the number that would be needed.
Correct.
Just for a simple access like online education. Then you take telehealth, tele-retail, all that. So this market itself is expensive. Only thing is, now we have to take a call. Shall we continue to do this the way we are doing it? That you have Lenovo coming here, that is coming here, bringing all the boards from outside, even the cabinets sometimes coming from China and then assembling and selling it. Or shall we design something our own, which will be feeding to the market? Let us select something like 10, 15 such products. I'm not saying everything should be, but at least large volume products which can be of the Indian origin, where we'll start manufacturing based upon the market available here. Then that demand of semiconductors, so fulfill those products, will be fed from the foundries which we want to set up. So that should be the style. In the beginning, it won't be a profitable venture, I can assure you. But as Mr. Gupta was telling, all foundries have never been profitable at the beginning. In fact, their break-even point comes after about 7 to 10 years. In fact, you take Taiwan exercise, the US continued to pump in money till such time they became profitable, and then they started building of their own and then becoming more and more self-reliant or self-sustaining. Now, same thing will happen here also. So we have to have the products to be designed and developed. ATMPs have to be done, and then foundry will start feeding into it. But I am not of the opinion that we should do it in a sequential manner. I think we have to do all of them as a parallel exercise. Foundry investment will not give you the returns immediately, but product design and selling will certainly give you immediate returns. ATMPs will give you immediate returns. Fabless foundries, if they are going to be made operational, and they will make use of the existing foundry infrastructure or likely foundry infrastructure, then they will certainly be benefited by that rather than sending their designs to outside foundries. This is going to have what is called an ecosystem development, which has to be followed using a multi-pronged approach. And unless we do that, we will not be able to justify that we are making some headway into this. And for at least 7 to 8 years, one should not look for major returns from this investment. It will be only breaking even after about 7 to 8 years. I would say even 10 years could be a longer time. And but effort has to be made in all directions. That is what my thinking is.
Thank you. Satya, do you think in such a situation, should we look at getting somebody to come and invest in the latest technology, or should we look at something like a 28 node type of situation where it could have large market to start with and a better situation in terms of profitability?
So I think our analysis shows basically there is enough life still left in 28 nanometer, for example. Okay, it has basically, if we do the consumption analysis, as Dr. Saraswat said, we don't decide what components get used, but even with whatever consumption is happening in India, if we do basically analysis of consumption across various nodes, our estimate is we are consuming about $1 billion of semiconductor at 28 nanometer in India today. And that is going to remain about the same or slightly higher for next 5 years. Okay. Although 14, 7, 10 is going to grow, but there is enough juice left in 28 nanometer. So considering the commercial viability and technology challenges of an advanced fab of 7 to 5 nanometer, I think if we can learn how to do the technology integration as well as the business integration at basically 28 nanometer type of the fab, and then very rapidly every 2 years we migrate to the next node, right? And we should plan for that kind of the investment. So maybe about basically, as Dr. Saraswat said, maybe in 7 to 10 years we can catch up with the latest technology without basically like going very aggressively in the beginning in terms of the technology. Business need point of view, our analysis shows that 28 nanometer still has a lot of potential, and certainly ATMP has enough potential. And so if we have to take a recipe on semiconductor manufacturing, we will say that we put one fab which is basically special purpose. It could be GaN devices, it could be silicon carbide, that kind of a thing, which can be done basically in approximately 100 to 150 million dollar type of the investment. Do a 28 nanometer fab, which can be done in about 2 to 2.5 billion dollars of initial investment, and ATMP, which could be somewhere around 200 to 500 depending on the capacity. If we go fire on these three angles, and at the same time to basically, as Dr. said, we cannot work on one engine only. We have to work on all the three engines, right? I think one of the most important things which generally get missed out in the discussion in the manufacturing is the importance of the fabless in this whole equation, right? I think we have one of the best designers in the world for the chip design. We need to convert that to a basically very vibrant fabless ecosystem, which will create the demand for our own fab, and also basically people like TSMC and other will start paying more attention to it. So as per our plan, we want to basically, we are working on a plan which will get 100 fabless companies in India in next 5 years. But as some of the previous speakers talked during the day in the morning session, right? Funding is a major challenge because India did not have any major poster child in the hardware sector, which gives the confidence to investors to basically invest in this area. Our recommendation is to put a $500 million seed fund for the fabless companies, which is approximately $5 million for each company, each fabless successful company. It takes about 20 to 30 million dollars to do same thing in the US. We will try to do it in 5 million. If we have this seed funding of $500 million with support from the government, we can get the fabless engine going, which will basically make fab, ATMP, and the product ecosystem all going.
So, Dr. Saraswat, one of the approaches that some people have talked about is to maybe look at a second-hand 28 nanometer fab and bring it along quickly, and it will cost us very quite less. I don't think it will cost more than 500 million, to my mind. If we could do something like that, we could move very fast, and maybe the government could take a view of taking a risk on that and getting it going. So you are on mute. Unmute yourself.
Yeah, if we can lay hand on 28 nanometer fab, which is which is in reasonably good condition, and we have the technology well established here, it will be jump start for the nation, and it will also enable our people to develop their skills, and it can be a good feed point for all the fabless foundries which are existing today in the country, and they can start getting their products manufactured. But we should not rest with that. We should try to see that the 28, if we are going to follow that route, that we have the journey for 7 nanometers and 14 nanometer go concurrently in that direction. Maybe with a gap of 5 years or something, but certainly the journey should go in that direction, because ultimately people are going to the atomic level today, and we can't rest with 28 all the time. And I believe in the following. Coming from the missile background, when I was doing my first missile, when I gave the weight of the missile, because the size of the electronics and other packages which I was having, it was about 1.5 times the weight of the contemporary missiles at that point in time. So I told my decision makers that, look, this is what the country can do today. But after 10 years, when I am going to make the Mark II or Mark III version of that, I will reduce the weight by this time, because I launched parallel programs for miniaturizing the electronics. And that is what precisely happened. We built system on chip, and that was responsible for reducing. So I think the same approach here also has to be followed. We live with what we can get and jumpstart, so that the industry ecosystem grows, and then we get into the final resolution systems, and that will help us into modern day electronics.
Yeah. So I think this could be done.
Suggestion.
Yeah. Dr. Saraswat, I think this could be done pretty quickly. If we put a time frame on this and get it going, at least we'll have something started. And with the PLI scheme that the government has already announced, there are some people who are interested in ATMP. So something with ATMP can also start. And then I think what will be left is to get the R&D part and the part that Satya talked about of fabless companies. If you put those 4 pieces together, and even if we don't put $500 million, we put a lesser amount and get it going, at least let's get the ecosystem started.
I like to mention here the following. The discussion the other day we had on the R&D fab, you were present in that discussion with the IIT Bombay team, was one of the options which was explored was to have an existing foundry acquired, and then we work on that. Certainly that is one good point which will help the fabless. But the investment on the fabless foundries is a very, very important aspect. Yes. And I wanted to create a system like IMEC in India. I'll give an example. A large number of our researchers today continue to either take on license or procure the IP codes for their design. And they are prohibitively expensive, because they are, first of all, single uses, multiple uses, that all kinds of strings are attached to them. What IMEC did was they acquired from variety of sources this capability, and they started giving to their all designers on a case-to-case basis, on a loan basis, or on a small fee basis, thereby enabling the design process in a big way. I think we should also create a similar software environment where R&D center is able to acquire all these IP cores, which can be made available to the fabless foundries, and they can come up with their designs and then go into manufacturing with the existing foundries in the world. And by the time the own foundry comes, so even the fabless foundry system has to be supported in a big way today by investment by the government. And maybe a joint government and the private together, it will be a good exercise.
Right. So actually, I think what is pretty much coming through, Satya, is the whole fact.
Can I add something to Dr. Saraswat said? 1 second. So Dr. That's what we have already started that process. We have started a fabulous incubator in Bangalore called SFAL. Under that, we have procured all the EDA tools as well as we have the IP deals with Synopsys and ARM, which are the two major IP providers. So we are basically beginning to build that ecosystem. We just need to scale it up now to make it bigger. We are just putting the basic components. We have relationship with iMac. We have relationship with basically Global Foundries and Samsung for manufacturing. So slowly we are putting the pieces together. At any basically fabless company today, if they want to basically go and do their chips, other than designing part, we can support them in all the infrastructure parts today through this incubator.
No, that's great.
Very good.
I think fundamentally what we are really talking about is number one, digital security for the country, for which we need to take care of the semiconductor piece. The second thing that we are really talking about is making value addition higher. There's no sense in giving away, for example, look at the whole mobile area. We are giving 10% benefit or 6%, 8% benefit for 10%, 15% value addition. I think what we need to do is much higher value addition. And that
Absolutely.
higher value addition will happen with design and semiconductors. Any other way, it's not going to happen. So I think that should be the way we should look forward to, Dr. Saraswat, with your guidance.
In fact, I have been suggesting that this PLI scheme, which you mentioned, 6% or 8%, subsidy or profit, which amount we are giving to them on sale, so much of sale increase, some percentage of sale increase, and all that. I am of the opinion that as on today, the PLI scheme is going to support the large volume manufacturers.
Yes.
As on today, because the numbers I have seen, I have gone into details of them, some 4,000 crores, 10,000 crores. Now, that's also required, because then only the companies like Apple and Samsung and all that, they will bring in the kind of scale of operations which we are talking of. It is needed. But we need to create yet another scheme wherein you should be in a position to support the smaller manufacturers. And this country has a large strength of them. If you look at our electronics industry today, semiconductor or whether they are fabless foundries, they're small units. Each one may not have more than 50 engineers working there, but they are doing wonderful job. So if we have to support such systems, I think we have to create yet another scheme which will bring in benefits, and also it is greater than very, very large, but the value is small. So you will get again the same amount of return, and that will have a much better impact on the ecosystem. So I think we have to get yet another scheme for PLI and SMAC for one. Third one I want to just mention, Dr. Chaudhary, is this. The one area where we should do immediate action is the specialty fab. Because the way e-mobility and power electronics and all these things are coming up today, and even telecom to that extent, I think if we don't make devices on gallium nitride, silicon carbide, and things like that, we will run into similar problems what we already have as far as the digital electronics is concerned. Because already the automobile manufacturers will import everything in the e-vehicles from China and other places. Then lateral entry of our products will become a major problem.
Absolutely.
So it is a tremendous urgency needed today to set up a workforce to enable manufacturing of MOSFETs and IGBTs and this, that, and all kinds of things which are essential for power electronics and e-vehicles and things like that. If we miss that bus, we are finished. We will be again chasing the same way the way we are chasing the digital market.
Absolutely right. Absolutely right. I think that is where the design and all of that, getting the fabless people going. I think we should even extend the scheme of PLI to fabless. Treat fabless like manufacturing, and treat them like exactly that way, and give them those benefits so that we can get the fabless also going in the same manner. Give them the benefit.
Absolutely, sir.
Small and medium enterprises as well as fabless could be given that same thing. I think lastly, Satya, do you have any views on what should SCL do?
I think with respect to the needs of the strategy sector, both defense and space, over 5 years they have done very well. But I think if I look at the worldwide ecosystem of the strategic chips, right? Although they are not leading edge nodes, but they are also not that far behind. So basically, upgrading the facility to somewhere around basically 65 or 90 nanometer is needed, because typically because of the reliability and radiation hardness and all kind of the effects, right? You are generally 3 or 4 nodes behind the leading node, and that is true with the USA, Israel, these are leading defense chip companies, right? I think the need is to basically land somewhere around 65 nanometer, because that process has matured and it's reliable for the kind of the applications which we are talking where Dr. Saraswati is the expert, but little I know, because I worked on a couple of radiation hardened chip, reliability is the most important. So if we can move to basically 65 nanometer used to modern processor, basically some products still we are using the microcontrollers of 8051 type of things, right? We need to move to modern RISC-based microprocessor as a IP and so on and so forth. So both IP as well as manufacturing need to make couple of strides forward. If my personal view, we should look at basically upgrading SCL to somewhere around 65 nanometer.
Okay, thank you. So I think, are there any questions you would get the audience to ask? If anybody would like to ask any questions?
Yeah, I think this topic you will have a lot of questions, I guess. Naveen? Naveen, can you come in?
This is Sumit. I will continue the rest of the session. Thank you to three of you, because the discussion was so engaging. We really did not want to finish that, but it was going in a so nice area. So I have a question from the controlling team here. Whenever this self-reliance comes, everything starts with the fab. What about the electronics? There are big electronics giants are there who doesn't have a fab, but still controlling $1 trillion economy. So what do you think is required to go to that stage other than fab?
I think you have to understand today that I was just going to the countries which are actually having major share today, starting from US and going up to down to China, whether it is the Korea or the Chinese or the others. All of them have fabs, and also they are doing exceedingly well as far as the electronics are concerned. All kinds of electronics they are manufacturing. Korea, Japan, Taiwan, China, Europe, and even in Europe. So all of them have the access to fab, or otherwise they are collaborating. So the foundation is right from there. But some of them have started even before they had the fab. They were manufacturing the electronics goods, which I was proposing that we should also do, using the external components and so on, which should be done. So it is not essential that we can't do electronics, but then the security point, what we were talking of, becomes a major issue. We are having telecom networks today based upon imported equipment totally. We have a huge network, up to 4G we have gone. But we hardly manufacture any telecom equipment in our country. So that situation should not be there. We should at least be able to manufacture telecom equipment, importing the component from outside. Even that we're not doing to the extent we can do. So that is again a market economics which is driving us, that Chinese are dumping on you most cheap routers, switches, with Cisco, this, that, and all that. And the Indian companies are not able to compete in terms of scale and competitiveness and sometimes quality. So as a result, BSNL, MTNL, and even Reliance, they don't use the indigenous equipment. So there's a major requirement for us to upgrade the scale of electronics manufacturing and improving the quality and bringing in standardization. We have to capture, even though we may not have the fab today.
Okay.
So if I can add few words, Sumit, here. Okay, just taking an example, like world knows about Apple, and they control basically where they manufacture, how they manufacture, who are the basically suppliers, and so on and so forth. It could be Foxconn, it could be Wistron, it could be Pegatron, right? And what does Apple do? Apple makes the electronics products at the end of the day, right? Basically, and that's where if you look at the food chain of the profitability also, the majority of the profit is taken by the person who is basically designing and manufacturing the product and owning the brand of the product, right? So as Dr. Saraswat said, right, this is something which can be done today, and we must put our emphasis on getting this started ASAP.
Dr. Chaudhary, is he still there? Is he with
Yeah,
us?
should we close this?
Dr. Chaudhary, I want to make one suggestion which is very important for semiconductor.
Ji,
Because there are no other questions, I thought that should be certainly flagged.
Sure.
See, one of the major weaknesses in the country today is also the understanding of the semiconductor as a subject. The kind of capability in the material development, characterization, and despite the fact that we have some excellent academic institutions and excellence exists in individuals, the collective wisdom of coming up with in a manner so that you can build the high purity silicon wafer in the country, or a gallium nitride or a gallium arsenide wafer in the country is still lacking. And as a result, when you have to manipulate these materials for different applications, for example, for a laser diode, or for example, for a MOSFET or something, we are not able to do that because of the lack in understanding and the methods of characterization and sometimes the field spot. I'm not criticizing anybody, but this is the situation. Even DRDO, when I was there, we have a lab called SSPL, which has been working in that direction. And I was always a hard critic of them. I used to say that you have to build much better than what you are doing today. I think similar situation exists in the country. So there's a need for us to create a R&D for semiconductor materials and devices and processes. Integrated R&D approach wherein you can bring in the best of the brains from inside and outside. Outside means outside India, and where you can launch a system so that new materials, new characterization, and all that can be done. Otherwise, we'll be again importing the wafer, and then they will not be given to you for some time, and they will be given only when the quality of them is not good, and things like that. You have a serious problem there. So even a wafer manufacturing facility could be set up. It's not such an expensive facility, but it is a requirement for that today, for a variety of applications. For example, if you do photovoltaic cells tomorrow in a big numbers, and you continue to import the wafers from outside, it doesn't make any economic sense.
correct.
So we need to do R&D and material manufacturing and processing. It's the important part.
So I think that would complete the ecosystem we were talking about in the beginning.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes. Okay. Thank you very much, Dr. Saraswat, Satya. It's been a very good.
Any concluding remark from you, Ajay sir?
Ji?
You want to basically do the concluding remarks?
What I'd like to conclude with is I totally agree that we need the whole ecosystem to point one, and point two, we need to set a time frame for ourselves to make this happen. Because, we've been really struggling to get this going for too long. And I think time has come for us to take a very, very quick decision. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr.
Thank you very much, sir. I think very engaging discussion. We shall continue to have this discussion with you and your team. And I think in next 3 months, we will have a formula to have a GAN fab in the country.
Yeah, sure.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, panelists, for this engaging discussion. And this is the topic, I think it's everybody's favorite. And since morning, whenever session's going on, I get to see a lot of questions saying, when is the next fab coming? And you guys were just addressing that particular topic. And this is the favorite for the last 10, 15 years. Thanks for all your views, and this was very essential for us, as well as for the new set of students who are in the final year of the academics. They will be quite impressed and encouraged from your discussion. So with that, I'd like to thank Dr. Chaudhary. Big round of applause for Dr. Chaudhary. Then Dr. Satya Gupta. And Dr. V.K. Saraswat. Thank you, sir. Thank you for all this encouraging discussion.
Can I make a request, Sumit? Can I request Dr. Saraswat and Dr. Chaudhary to stay because the next speaker will give us the international view on the same subject. We have a president of Semiconductor Industry Association, John Newford. I think it will be very enlightening if you can stay and listen to what's